Hello, and welcome to another Tech Articles. In today's article, we're going to look at a solution that I'm going to be releasing. I'm going to be pushing in the next few days. I'm recording this video before that. I've been working on this project for about 3 months on and off, and I've written many articles about it. I've posted code snippets and how it works, and it's now a pretty robust solution for releasing plugins. I focused mainly on free plugins rather than licensing, etc. I don't plan on adding that ability. It is capable of working with a licensed server, but I don't plan on actually adding that as a functionality. What I wanted when I started the project, which is a UUPD, was to have a way that somebody who wrote a WordPress plugin or several can use pretty much anything they like to host their updates and to make it as frictionless as possible for developers. We pretty much all use GitHub, and GitHub has been the focus of this. So the first thing I want to do is head over and say that the plugin we're going to be using today is example plugin here. And this uses the UUPD updater, which is the engine of what I'm going to show you today. It is the bulk of the work, but I just want to show you how it integrates. And in this example, I'm going to use GitHub, totally free. These updates cost me nothing. They use GitHub CDN for both plugin updates and zip file delivery, as well as for icons and banners for your WordPress site. But it is also capable of working with existing solutions and a WordPress only solution, which I have also created. So first of all, UUPD works with the industry standard WP update server. It will work flawlessly with that. No questions asked. I've been testing the version up until very recently with a customized version of WP Update Server so that I could check that keys worked and licensing works. As I say, I don't plan on releasing licensing, but I have been using it to secure downloads using WP Update Server for weeks and weeks in testing, and it's worked absolutely flawlessly. So it can work with WP Update Server. In addition to working with WP Update Server, it can work with static JSON files, which is the example I'm going to show you working through in a few minutes. And it also works with another plugin that I will be releasing exactly the same time in the exact same repo, which I'm calling UUPD Server. And that's just a custom post type, really, that allows you to publish plugins and updates directly on any WordPress site, totally free of charge, totally free. It's available to just download and install on your site, and you will then be able to serve your updates and version information directly from here. Now, when I embarked on this project, my ultimate goal was that it should be almost frictionless to release an update. We do it all the time anyway, and in my case, I'm a Windows user, and I know not many people are. So all of my examples are batch files, but it would easily translate into shell files as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to example plugin, which is a repo we have in GitHub. Now this is what we're going to be using, as I just said, for this demonstration. So currently we're on version 1.0.69, and that is the version we have installed here. Now, if I push this here, you will see that I get a few details. I get a banner, installation details, change logs, etc., as you would expect for any WordPress plugin. And I have a check for updates option, which isn't going to find me any because there isn't currently any updates, but it's there. So that works exactly as you would expect it to work, exactly as this one here, which uses the counter version of WP Update Server. So there is a WordPress library to go with this here called Plugin Update Checker, and Ninja Updater is actually built around Plugin Update Checker. So it works in exactly the same way, has the same functionality from a WordPress perspective. So it checks for updates, it injects that detail in, and your updates are delivered like any other WordPress updates would be. But the key difference here for me is how easy it is to automate and log in with your GitHub. So here I have a repo. I'm just going to drag this out of the way so that I can open files as I need to. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm just going to open this back script and run you through the details in this first. So I'm going to open this in Sublime. And what this does is it has a configuration up the top here, and any shell scripts you had would have something similar. And all it does is it runs 2 PHP files, a few text files through to automate a new release. And I'm going to show you this in action to show you that new release in process. So first of all, we check that we've got all the required files that we've put up here. Then we redo the header of the PHP. We then generate an index.json file for GitHub. Then we generate and output those to a folder. Then we create a normal README text. Then we commit this to Git. We zip up our plugin and we deploy. Now we have the two choices here. Up here, there's two choices and two options. If I was deploying to a WP update server, I'd be deploying to a private server in this option here. But in this case, we're going to GitHub, so it will deploy to GitHub. So, and there's some logic in there depending on how they are. So for a local deploy, in my case, it moves it to a folder and allows me to just have that available on my local site. And then what happens is I use SyncBack Pro to upload that via SFTP to my update site. And then we get some more pushing through, we get more releases, and it's done. So that's pretty much what goes on in this bat file, a copy of which will be in the repo when I launch it. So I'm going to close that down now. So you're going to see this happen live on the screen, but it's going to be relatively fast. So I'm going to close that down. I'm going to deploy a new version, and we have this opened up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy 1.0.6.10. And I'm not changing any of the names of my plugin or any of the tested versions. Now, the two PHP scripts that this runs behind the scenes will also be in the repo for you to work with your SH files or to modify this bat file if you want to. And I'm just going to push my update, and you'll see it's telling me that the version's changed. It's generating a JSON update. It's pushing that to GitHub, and that release is now released. Now I'm going to push enter one more time and it will disappear. And just like that, I have now pushed to GitHub a new release, put a release.zip file up there, and it is now available, subject to GitHub CDN, to all of my sites that are using the plugin that this is attached to. Now, the batch script is for the release section of this. It is not related at all to UUPD, but the idea is that this becomes a really useful way to release your own updates. So first of all, I'm going to go to GitHub. I'm going to refresh, and you'll see here that we've just got released for 1.0610. And if, for example, we were to go into the example plugin directory, you will see here that it's updated the stable tag. It's also pushed a latest commit with all of those details in it. It's updated in our example plugin the version, and it also updates example version as well, which is used in our bootstrap, which adds our updater. So this is all the code you need to add to a plugin to use UUPD, and that's it. And that's how it's configured. These configuration items are all done within their own block. So example plugin version is up here, and that tells the version. This tells WordPress what version we're on to check against the server, or UUPD to tell WordPress that there's a different version. Now, if you've got and you want to check with a licensed server before serving your update, and you want to use this, you can use the key value, and that key value is passed over. You can use your server, which can be a update server using, for example, WP Update Server or a WordPress install, or in the case of this example we're running here, it's actually using GitHub's CDN. And that's the beauty of the way this package works, and that's what makes distributing these updates entirely free for the developer. You put the work in up front, you design your deploy scripts, and thanks to the power of GitHub and GitHub's global CDN, your updates are available almost instantaneously to all of your users with no infrastructure cost for you as a developer. So this single drop-in is all you need that links in the updater.php file. Now, the UUPD updater is tiny. It's about 20 kilobits in size. It's absolutely tiny, and a large proportion of that is going to be the instructions at the top so that you understand what's going on and how to do it. It's got functions that allow you to override a GitHub token if you want to go use the GitHub API rather than the methodology I'm using here. It has filters to turn on logging and a filter to replace this globally across all installations. It's a class installation, so it's totally namespaced. You can use it in 50 plugins all on the same install, and it's safe to do that. So we have an update version here. It was updated 3 minutes ago. I'm going to go to here and I'm going to reload this page, and you'll see now that the index.json, which is on the CDN, has updated and said there is a new version of 1.0610. So I'm going to head over to our WordPress site and I'm going to force an update check. And you'll see an update is available. If I was to go here, you will see that I have a nice little image, as you would expect for a plugin update, all being served by GitHub's CDN. And that icon is in the same repo in the UUPD directory. So it's all being served by GitHub, including our download update. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that update. So we're going to update that plugin. Okay, so this is unfortunate timing. I think GitHub is having an issue. Updates aren't currently being served due to a 500 error on their site. So if I go to the actual repo and try and download this zip file, I get the same 500 error that the update is getting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause this video and I will come back to it and re-record the very last bit of it later to show you an update and push a second update. It's about 15 minutes later now. I believe that the GitHub issues have been fixed. So I'm going to refresh the site. I'm going to update now for our first update to 1.0.6.10, and you can see that updated straight away. So my I did a bit of checking on downloading this actual plugin automatically in my browser, and it's just successfully done it, so I knew that would update. So we've now done our first update. As I say, this all comes from GitHub within the plugin itself. So if we go to this site and we actually look at example itself, the code itself, you will see that inside the plugin it's coming directly from a GitHub repo, and that repo address serves that zip file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reopen this deploy. We're going to deploy version 1.0.6.11, and we're going to run through our outputs, and it will pretty much instantly deliver a change to GitHub in about 15-20 seconds. And that's deployed. And if we go to GitHub as the site, we will see that a release has just been released now. There's been the commits in the various folders, the zip, the plugin, and the releases all say 1.0611. And I don't know if it's a bit early for the content to do because it's cached, but we will check. No, it's already updated here. So if we were to go back to our site here, and this time I'm going to turn on a script to allow me to delete transients, which I've now done, and I should now have a new option in tools to delete all transients. I'm going to delete the transients, and this will force WordPress to do an update rather than a manual update. And you'll see here we now have an update available, and it's telling us that GitHub now wants to serve us 1.0611, and I'm going to update that now, and that's updated. And I'm going to try one more, which is probably a bit quick, to be honest, for the CDN, but why not live dangerously? A new release has been released. We go to GitHub itself, you will see a new latest release of 1.0612. And if I refresh the CDN, you'll see it's not available to us yet because there's about a 5-minute delay on the cache on this CDN. So that won't be available to us immediately, but within 5 minutes of the last refresh, it should become available to us. And then an update will become available in our dashboard. Now, the beauty of the way this has been set up, the details that will be in the repo available to you and in the article, is that I'm going to supply this batch script that I'm using, and that'll show you how to do exactly what I've just done. Read the plugins. I'll include the 2 PHP files that I'll run off path on my Windows machine to do that. You can do all of the same things with Shell, I believe. I know you can. I've done similar with Shell as it is, including running PHP on your local machine. And you can automate your release schedule. So you would push and edit as usual. When you're ready to program a release, you just run your script or your batch script or your shell script, and that will push an update to GitHub. In the way this works, I don't need any server. I don't need any WordPress install. I don't need anything else except for my repo, which means plugins are available to be updated quickly, easily, and simply as part of your normal release progress. And that was my goal when I set out to do UUPD, and I think I've achieved it. I'm releasing it now. Version 1.23 is the current version, and it's had a lot of iteration. You can see some of those in the tech article write-ups where I've written about writing it and then using it. Several of my plugins are using a version of it already. 1.1 for some, 1.2 for others, and they've been getting updates from my personal WP update server for weeks on this process. So I'm ready to release it. I hope it helps other plugin developers to offer their users updates to their free WordPress plugins, free of charge to them, free of charge to their users, and allows you to distribute updates to those plugins in the normal way. For an end user, there are some risks that need to be considered in that, but in general, it's a way for particularly single item developers, single developers who have their own GitHub account to just release their updates. Hopefully it is of use to you. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Please do fork, add, whatever. And I'd be interested to see some of the license iterations that are added in for if you want to offer premium plugins using UUPD. It's GPL, so do as you will. Thanks for watching.